Entrepreneurs, business owners, and even my ministry leaders, I got a quick question for you. Are you charging enough for your products or your services? Well, on today's edition of Bootstrapping Business and Ministry, I'm going to give you 5 tips for pricing your service. What's going on, everybody? Glenn P. Brooks Jr. here, excited to be back with you for another edition of Bootstrapping Business and Ministry. Now, on this episode, I'm going to get into some nuts and bolts of some things that, quite frankly, is a little tough for first-time entrepreneurs, particularly if you are going from the ministry mindset to the business mindset. Let me give you a quick backstory. Today, I am going to give you 5 tips on how you can price your services, but I want you to understand where this is coming from. So for me, as a former pastor, I was a pastor for a number of years in an associate capacity, a youth ministry, the whole bit, and I had a mindset of basically giving everything away. During the process of pastoring, I started writing, and we probably had published maybe 3 books by the time I left full-time ministry and went into full-time entrepreneurship. And one of the things that I found very difficult was trying to figure out how to price my products and my services. And so today I'm going to give you guys 5 tips on how to do that. And now let me just say this also on the front end, guys. There is no one size fits all on this. Depending upon your industry, depending upon your comfort level, depending upon your personal circumstances, some people need to make more. Quite frankly, some people don't need to make as much. And so as a result, sometimes you can have a sort of sliding scale on what you charge for your products or services. However, I need you to have a system. I need you to have some kind of matrix by which you really use in order to do that. And here's the reason. If you find yourself on a sliding scale regularly, you will never generate revenue and you won't make money. Promise you. And the reason why is because the numbers don't lie. You cannot put out more than you're bringing in and be profitable. That's a simple math equation. So today I'm going to help you kind of navigate through that a little bit using some principles that I've used over the years that have really helped for me. So number 1, I want you to do your homework. Put that in the chat. Do your homework. What do I mean by that? Guys, you have to understand the industry that you're in. You have to understand your competition, what it is that other people are charging, but more importantly, what services are they providing for that? So if a coach is charging $500 a session for his or her live coaching session or whatever the case may be, the question really becomes is not necessarily how much they're charging, but what kind of services are they rendering for that kind of money? And then the other part of it is that what is their experience? If you're talking about a former CEO of a Fortune 500 company, I promise you to coach with that person for an hour is going to cost very different than what it would cost for a person who just started out. Maybe they had a business for a number of years and they decided to get into some coaching. Well, their price point is going to look a lot different. And depending on the industry, that could shape it as well. So number 1, I want you to do your homework. Number 2, I want you to consider flat fees or hourly rate. Put that in the chat. Flat fees or hourly rate. And if you are writing this down, which you should be, you need to write this down. Guys, in many services and jobs, you're going to also need to decide whether or not you're going to price by the hour or by the project. Now, depending on your industry, that looks a little bit different. Like I think of my graphic designers. I think of my videographers, people who, quite frankly, editors, people who have to spend real time to be able to produce a thing. Unlike myself, when I wrote the book, How to Raise a Man, Not a Mama's Boy, I did that one time. And so that fee was set then. And quite frankly, there's not a whole bunch of reason whether or not I should raise it for a standalone. And we're going to get into why I may or may not do that later. But for the most part, it is what it is. I did it one time. I'm going to set a price. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to leave it alone. And I'm going to keep going. However, if you are hiring me and you're asking me to give of my time, which may fluctuate depending on your circumstance, there's going to be a fee that I'm going to charge based upon whether or not I'm going to do this by project or hourly or whatever the case may be. And you need to decide that. One of the things that we do in the MAPS Masterclass is we help entrepreneurs to get clear based upon their industry. What should they be charging, or what's a safe or a sweet number to at least begin with, so that you can kind of make the adjustment from there. So number 2, I want you to identify whether or not you're going to attach or have charge flat fees or an hourly rate. Number 3, y'all ready for this? Please know this. Know your hourly salary goal, or your hourly hourly cost. I can't get that out. Know your salary goal and hourly cost. And the reason why is, let's say for instance, if as an entrepreneur, in order to keep the lights on in your house, you've got to make $50,000 a year. Okay. Well, if you're going to make $50,000 a year on average, for the most part, there are probably about 2,000 hours a year of billable time that you're going to be able to charge. Well, that's about $25 an hour, right? So you're going to have to structure it that whatever products or services that you offer are going to pay you that. Now, here's the other part, and I'm going to get into this in the next point. There's more costs that are associated with charging someone than what it is that you need to bring home. So I just need you to get really clear on what it is that you want to make as a salary and what it is that you need to make hourly. And that's determined based upon what it is that you want to charge. Now, I will say this, guys, if you are an entrepreneur and you're a freelancer, I think about my photographers, for instance, they generally work by the job. Here's the truth. Rarely are they billing 8 to 9 hours a day, because in most cases, you're not on an 8 to 9 hour photo shoot, right? However, you do, let's say you have a 3-hour photo shoot that day, but the rest of your day, you're spending prospecting, you're spending doing administration, you're spending training your colleagues or your associates or whatever the case may be. You got to consider all of that, because that's what goes into what your clients are paying. So guys, I need you to really, really consider all of that. Number 4, if we can keep moving, I want you guys to write this down. Break it down and package it together. Now, I alluded to earlier, it's more than your salary that you're thinking about. My wife had to teach me this one the hard way. I was famous for charging somebody simply for my service. But one of the things that she quickly reminded me as our COO and our CFO, she reminded me, sweetheart, but you haven't factored the electricity that it's going to take, the paper that it's going to take. As a speaker, I would be famous for charging one thing and then forgetting to charge for, say, my travel or my hotel, or factoring the fact that you want me to be there for 2 days. Who's going to feed me? Am I going to pay for that? Are you going to pay for that? So I have to bundle everything into the cost so that when I charge you and you pay it, now it's taken into consideration all that goes into that. So you really need to really package it together. And the last thing I want to say on that, guys, is please give your clients and your customer options. See, there's a difference between price if you want me to come speak live versus if you want me to do it on a Zoom call or a virtual way, right? I have a speaking engagement coming up at the end of this summer for a really, really major corporation. And they want me to come in by way of Zoom because of the COVID situation. However, there's a different price breakout because I don't have to travel. I don't have to get into a hotel. You don't have to feed me anything at this particular point. Basically, all you're paying me for is my time. And of course, the information or the service that I'm providing when I show up. So you need to consider that. And what people will often do is that when they're looking to purchase your products and services, they really like it when you give them options. So package A consists of this. Package B consists of that. Package C entails these things. So every time you can offer an option, oftentimes you are going to be able to not only secure the business the first time, but also be able to retain it, because now you're giving people a palatable way of affording what it is that you do. Number 5, I want you guys to lean in really quickly, because this is one of the most difficult things for most, particularly new entrepreneurs to do, business owners, as well as anybody that's providing a product and service, and that is being willing to say no. Write that down somewhere. You have to be willing to walk away from a piece of business. And the reason why, there's a bunch of reasons why. Number one, because the truth of the matter is that everything that glitter isn't gold. That's an old statement my mother used to make when we were kids growing up, and it took me a long time to figure out what that meant. That means that everything that's shiny isn't worth the thing. It, number one, isn't real or isn't worth the thing that you're willing to spend to get it. There are some people that, quite frankly, are not ready for your services. And that is one of the reasons why they balk at your price. There's another thing that's going on oftentimes. If you're not willing to say no, what you also many times are willing to do is set the bar too low. If you're finding yourself having to continue to come down and come down and come down and come down for the products and the services that you offer, what you're running the risk of, and this is not always the case, but in many cases this is true, is that you're running the risk of devaluing everything that you do. So I want you to be careful and be able to practice saying the word no. And the way I do it, it's not the tone, it's not about it, if I could get that out, being mean-spirited. This is about drawing a line and creating a boundary. Now, I'll be very honest with you. I'm not in the business of leaving an opportunity on the table. So oftentimes when I say no, it will be with a clause. No, I can't do this. However, I can do this. No, I can't come to you live. However, I can come to you by way of Zoom. No, I can't necessarily drop the price of my book, but what I can do is give you a discount on how many you purchase. Does that make sense? It's a cause and effect. It's a yin and yang. You're giving something by saying, you know what, or you're drawing a line by saying no, but you also are giving them an option, if that makes any sense. So I hope this has helped you guys. Today we've been talking about the tips for pricing your service. If this has been a help to you and you want to come grow with us in the MAPS Masterclass, do me a huge favor, click the links below, set up a time where you can jump on a quick coaching call with me. It's a free discovery session. I'd be more than happy to see if you're fit, because at the end of the day, here's what I know to be true. We all need some help. If you've enjoyed this particular teaching and you want to show up and take advantage of all the things that we have to offer, do me a favor, click the page, like and subscribe to the channel, share it out with your friends, and we'll see you back again next week for Bootstrapping Business and Ministry.